Recording. Hello, welcome to the Cybersecurity Insider. My name is Yigal Behar. Today we have our guest, super guest, Seth. What's up?
How you doing, man? I'm super duper uber guest.
I know. It's been going on like now for months now that you're a super guest. Do you want to be upgraded to something else or downgrade to something else?
I'm waiting for my little badge that says super guest.
Okay. So I'll create a badge and send it to you. I mean, you have a badge already here, so
You send me a little
fine.
sticker. Give me a sticker that says I'm a super guest.
Yeah, super guest. All right, so let's get started with we have, I think, like 30 minutes or something. We'll cover a few things. Can you guess what we're going to talk next? What will be the first item?
Kaseya?
Woo! Wow, yeah.
Get a prize?
Yeah. Are you surprised we're going to talk about this? No, actually not. Okay. So here, this is what. Okay. So here's a short update for people who are living under Iraq, like me, because I don't watch news, but sometimes. So on Friday, July 2nd, ransomware operators exploited a vulnerability in Kaseya's update mechanism to reveal ransomware out to the IT services companies' customers. Kaseya develops software for managed service provider, MSPs, which means the attacker's reach could extend to hundreds, if not thousands of organizations. And apparently some supermarket chain in Sweden, the Coop, had to shut down its stores because those machines were managed by Kaseya VSA. The attackers appear to be demanding a ransom. Now it says 70 million. I see different numbers like $70 million now in Bitcoin. And they said, I saw that they said that they infected more than a million devices were infected. And if the company, Kaseya, will pay the ransom, they will provide the universal decryptor to all affected systems owners to decrypt the data. So what's your take?
I still know that there's not a lot of details on how. I know that there was a vulnerability that was supposed to be patched, but I'm still trying to figure out all the details on this. But either way, this is on to Kaseya because that update went out to their clients. So if you didn't do anything wrong other than just get updates from your vendor. So if Microsoft sends me a hacked, patch, whose fault is that? We're always telling people to patch, right? So this is like, they go and patch, and now they get screwed.
Not only that, they don't even have the capability update been updated automatically. You can do a setting in the Kaseya system and VSA server and to push updates automatically. So once you have an update, automatically it's going to be pushed to your agents. So apparently what the Kaseya said, this is affecting only the customers that has VSA server on site, on-prem. It's only affecting them. However, they decided to shut down also the SaaS, the software as a service mechanism. So all customers that they have already VSA agent that it's managed on the cloud are also being affected by it, and they took it out of precautions. This is what they say. In addition, I read some documents and some research paper, and all claim it was a zero-day vulnerability on Kaseya server. I don't know about the patch that was supposed to push. It sounds again like a 0 day that they found, and they used that in order to deploy the reveal ransomware using the agent And what they did, that they were able also to get on the VSA instance server on the cloud managed by Kaseya, and they were looking to see what would be the best way for them to infect much more machines, many more machines, like the impact would be so great. And they found that the MSPs would be the best way to go. Therefore, they infected the MSPs, knowing that those MSPs will have, it's going to have more magnitude in terms of infecting more systems. So, I mean, what can we do? And I know we'll be talking about RMM tools. It's called RMM. People that don't know, remote management a tool that helps to manage devices. Knowing that this tool is, although it's great for the MSP, however, for customer perspective and security perspective, more security than anything else, you have now one agent that can do anything, and you can control. And as you mentioned a minute ago, Microsoft can push a patch, and we're going to talk about Microsoft as well, as you know. And they can have also vulnerable updates. Then what? And this is crazy, because what these attackers did, it's amazing. They use an outdated Microsoft, their endpoint protection, and they use its certificate in order to hide their presence. Not only that, of course, it disabled Microsoft Defender. I'm sorry, it's called Microsoft Defender. So in the beginning, they disabled the Defender, the Microsoft Defender. Then they started spreading the user certificate. They copied themselves. They changed the name, and they used the fact that Kaseya recommending not to scan the installation folder in order for the product to function properly. And this is a big problem. So it's better to break the solution, in this case, than having a ransomware.
Exactly. Well, see, the thing is, and now this is where I'm still trying to understand. Was it like SolarWinds when they broke into the deployment server for the patches, or did they find a hole, break in, and then, piggyback along whatever being deployed? Or, that's what I'm trying to figure out. Did they backdoor into the client sites, or did they use the distribution, the patch distribution, like they did with SolarWinds?
Yeah, they use the distribution. SolarWinds, they use the distribution. Also here, they use the distribution in order to push the ransomware.
But my point is I know when I worked years ago with an application company, and they had the Visual Studio suites, and they used to have to import, like you would update the software and in a repository. So you would input it, and then anything that was updated would be automatically updated to the software. Now, if you would be able to, in a sense, follow that whole chain on a particular, let's say somebody was working on a small DLL for the software, that would be attached to something there already. So all of this stuff that was being logged in, logged out, that was being worked on, and all that, those things are in the folder. So the same thing with patches. When they patch somebody, it's in a repository. So if it doesn't come from a repository that they've approved and said, yes, we've tested it, we've done these things, how is it now being left into this folder or wherever it's being stored at without ever going through A to Z of the repository of the patching part?
Yeah, you need to have a process where you seal a package and then you send it for distribution.
And first it goes through testing, and then it goes through all the process before it gets there. So my thing is there is a file that showed up in this distribution point. It even if it has a fake certificate, it didn't go through the other processes, so it doesn't have that signature on top of the certificate.
It might be what they did, and this is again from just what we are reading and hearing from different sources, that the change in the certificate and rename the files were done on the target machine, the infected machine. We don't know what happened on the Kaseya systems, on the Kaseya VSA instance, and it might be that they were able just to take control of the process and rename or use an existing file names and replace those existing file names with their own files. So let's say you have agent.exe, so then you're going to bring the same file with the same name. If the process didn't verify that you have a problem with the signature, then you have a big problem there.
Right, because I know a lot of them use MD5 hashes or multiple different types of hashes
Yeah,
when they're looking at their...
SHA-1, yes, SHA-1.
So they have different types of signatures on these things as it goes through the process, through this repository. And then once it gets to the end, then they package it up, seal it, then it goes through testing.
Right.
And if that thing doesn't have the right signature, it doesn't go out. So that's why I'm saying somewhere in this process, there's a problem because nothing is checking.
I think, yes, I think that those actors used the fact that everybody went for a 4th of July vacation, and they knew that nobody would, they did it as of July 2nd. They recompile and prepare all the files on July 1st is based on the dates of the compilation date. And then July 2nd, they started with the penetration, and I believe that they used this specifically at that time because they knew that people are going for vacation, long vacation, and the ability to respond to this kind of events will be very slow, if impossible at all. So
do we know when they were able to get into the system to compromise it?
July 2nd, as of now. That's it.
Okay. So they only were in there a few days.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And it took them, a day or two to infect based on what the attacker says, a million devices. Who knows? I mean, Kaseya says that this attack affected 800 to 1,500 customers. So I'm assuming 850, 1,500 MSP customers. So what would be the footprint, let's say, for an average MSP? Well, what would be that number?
100, 200, so yeah.
Okay. So we have about, a million and a half, maybe, devices. So, okay.
So there needs to be more explanation on that process and what happened there, because just like SolarWinds, you're pushing stuff out that comes from the repository that doesn't have the right signature. Because even when you're compiling it, it's supposed to check every signature of every file. And if they updated the exe, that signature is not going to match the old one that was there yesterday.
Right. So I think the timing was crucial for this attack to be successful. That's what I believe. That's why they did it this time. So we'll see.
We'll see, because I think that's crazy, man.
That's very crazy. Yes. Okay, we gonna switch now to another zero day, which is Microsoft Print Spooler, how they call it, Print Nightmare, affects all versions of Windows. Hi. So apparently what happened, it's a research group found this vulnerability. They posted the POC, proof of concept code, and hackers grabbed that and used it right away. And they found that they were estimating that they provided all the information to Microsoft, so they had a patch, and I don't know. They said they had a patch. Microsoft said they have a patch. I don't know. They keep referring to a patch that they have, but apparently that patch doesn't do anything. And then the only workaround that they have so far is just to disable the spooler service, which means you won't be able to print from your computer. What do you say?
Yeah, the print spool has always been a major issue going back to Windows NT 4.0. So it doesn't surprise me that the print spooler, an exploit was found with that. It's, if the network is open, or if they can get to the machine, that's something that, just like SMB, it's always going to be exploited if necessary.
Yes. I mean, what else can we do? If you need to disable the print spooler that don't print. I mean, who prints these days? I print.
I print. We have print. We don't use it often, but we do print.
Yes. I mean, also another point to make that you need to have, and that's what I'm reading, that you need to have valid credentials in order to exploit it. So I don't know if to say it's really is so bad. Still, you need to authenticate in order to use that. Maybe yes, maybe no. I think more time is needed again to research this.
Yeah, they said
case.
Since it permits the attacker to run arbitrary code with system privileges. Then it says must involve an authenticated user calling RPC add printer driver X.
Right. Okay. And with that, we're going to switch to the next subject, which is cyber insurance. We had some recent. Yes, I know. Apparently, cyber insurance does not appear to be improving cybersecurity. Are you surprised about it?
I'm yes and no. I'm a little surprised because I thought usually the insurance companies mandate a set level, like a set standard, and then what's been going on is every company has been allowed to set their own standard. There's no direction from the insurance industry as a whole. Like if I get car insurance, there's a standard across the board. Every insurance company follows generally the same standard. You know what I mean? With this, and so because of that, the minimum standard has changed where with cybersecurity, if you're below a certain number on your policy, they don't really do much vetting. You can submit a bunch of paperwork, but they don't really validate anything.
Okay, so yeah, you would assume that the insurers will ask the customers, okay, the policy holders, and hold them for certain standard, as you said, and then that probably will help to increase the
right
get a better cybersecurity posture. But it's all about, and I mean, they're going to ask them to have policies and procedures, piece of papers, and call it a day. Do they really have all those security controls that are shown on the paperwork? I don't believe so. Therefore, it's not going to be successful. But let me read you a little bit. So apparently, it was a research done by Royal United Services Institute in Britain, and they said explorers whether cyber insurance can incentivize better cybersecurity practices among policyholders, and finds that the shortcomings of a cyber insurance mean that its contribution to improving cybersecurity practices is more limited than policymakers and businesses might hope. Yeah. I guess again, it's like a red tape, like with anything else.
It depends on the insurance company. If they're fly by night, you have low standards. If they're a good, reputable one, you'll have good standards. So I guess that's what it ultimately comes down to. Shop around, look. If you're somebody who wants insurance, don't just look at price. Make sure they follow a standard, whether it's the ISO standard or they're following NIST, whatever standard is their minimum. You want to make sure that it exceeds the basic crap that's out there. I know we were just talking about that earlier. It's all about finding a standard that helps you. It balances your efficiency with security, at least at the minimum.
Yeah, but I think this is not the issue, and public policy holders will look for an insurance that would ask them the least, and
Right.
and they want to require them to do that much in order to get the cyber insurance. But then when bad things happens, then they're going to pay for it because they didn't do their due diligence protecting the data. That's my, so eventually the policyholder will be held accountable, but they would suffer the most from a cyber attack.
Well, and then the other thing is like, I have Geico insurance. A lot of people say, oh, get the general, get this. The problem with a lot of these other insurance companies is when you start looking through the policy, certain things that you would think would be a higher number, like with car insurance, if you have accident and injury for a person, it could be 50,000 or 100. Some of them don't even have it. You know what I mean?
Right, yes.
So they don't have that part of the policy. This is how they make it cheaper. So they get rid of certain things that you're not covered for, or it's minimized. And then, so back to what I was saying earlier, if you go to a more reputable one, you're going to get someone that may require standards, but at least you're more likely going to be covered, and it's more likely going to, you're going to be in a better situation than, dealing with one of these other companies. People I know have dealt with some of these companies. They get into accidents or things happen, and they got to go through hell. Versus you call Geico up and you're done. And
right.
They do what they got to do.
Hi. All right.
Get what you pay for.
But at least get the cyber insurance. At least they will pay for the forensic investigations and whatever. So it's better just to get something. Okay, and with that, we're gonna move to Microsoft again. So Microsoft investigating malware signing incident. Microsoft is investigating an incident in which its Windows hardware compatibility program certified what turned out to be a malicious driver. The driver, known as NetFilter, has been used in gaming environments. It has the capacity to decrypt internet traffic and send it to another machine. Microsoft has suspended the account through which the driver was submitted.
That's a hot market, getting after a bunch of people with gaming. That's a big market.
Yeah, but this is also means that maybe their driver, now they're saying it's only on those machines, maybe it's also on Windows machines. And what does it mean? Maybe they were able to submit a driver. Remember, a driver loads before the operating system loads, meaning it has more privileges on the system. And typically, antivirus solutions running on the driver level in order to have it be between the data and the disk in order to capture the information. So really, it's crucial where those pieces are really located. So it's really scary because, again, those attacks are really, mind-boggling. It's crazy, mind-boggling. Okay. And with that, we're going to move to our next item.
Okay.
Microsoft Security Response Team, new activity from SolarWinds threat actor. Okay, so here's what happens. Microsoft Security Response Team wrote that it is tracking new activity from Nobilem threat actor that includes password spray and brute force attacks. The threat actor compromised a computer used by Microsoft customer support employee. From there, the actors launched targeted attacks. Interesting. What do you say?
Not surprised. You know what I mean? Not surprised once again. That one I hadn't heard about. I haven't heard too much about that one. So I'm I know I happened to notice there were like 3 or 4 things up there from Microsoft. You know, the print nightmare. There was another issue with Netgear router bugs. So I know there's a few other things, but I didn't heard the one that you just talked about. I even saw one with the PowerShell. There was another one with PowerShell.
Yeah,
so,
yes. I'm not going to include it in this episode. Maybe we'll do tomorrow another episode, and then we'll include the other stuff because it's we can't have all those items at once.
Yeah, I get emails from Microsoft about vulnerabilities and the patching stuff all the time. So the minute they put that out, somebody's going to try to come up with some type of exploit.
Right, and this specifically what it means that you need to enable, and I think we spoke about this so many times before, to enable MFA, multi-factor authentication, because what they do what's it's called reverse password guessing. So they try password and then a username, and they keep the same password, and then they use the next username. So you don't typically what you do username, password until you guess the password. So now you do the reverse brute force and you put the username, but you keep the password. So just change a little bit the order in order not to be because when you do that, you are not subject to account takeover, meaning account lockout policy. So let's say after 10 unsuccessful login attempts, the account will be locked out. This way, you don't the account is not being locked out. That's why it's a different way how to do. It's going to take more time, but at least it will be open. So again, MFA, it's probably the best security control out there that we recommend everybody to use at this time. And I think, we have another item, which is Zixel. Firewalls and VPNs are being attacked. Zixel has published an advisory warning that they recently became aware of a sophisticated threat actor targeting Zixel security appliances with remote management or SSL VPN enabled in the USG. I guess it's Unified Security Gateway, but it's called ZWAL and USG Flex, ATP in VPN series. The attacker tries to access targeted devices through the WAN. So you need to guard the one interface from those brute forces attacks. Comments? Super guest?
I actually have one of their little Wi-Fi. They have like a little mini Wi-Fi box of Zycel.
Okay.
So I don't know if that needs to be updated, but I'm assuming the firewall and the VPN on that thing is a suspect. But yeah, those things can't handle. Those little boxes are not meant for commercial use. They're used for homes and small applications, but like small businesses even may work, but even then it might be too much. It may be overloaded easily. Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, I think they have to explain to people that in the real world, in corporations, they split everything up. There's no all-in-one box, a router, Wi-Fi. Everything's split up. When you get it at home, in the business, they got a separate firewall and a VPN.
Well, it used to be in the past. These days, already, with the unified devices, the firewall is the VPN, and it's the VPN gateway. It's the web proxy. It's everything. Not to say that this is the best way, and was done because there was a push for the market to have one pane of glass that you can use, one device, one place where you can see everything. Not to say that this is the best, or you get the best protection.
Right, but a lot of companies allow you to have separate some of the other companies out there will let you, like, what was the other one? I can't think of their name. They allow you to have multiple devices, and you still get one pane of glass. You'll get one console with all of them in there. I know Ubiquity does it. There's a few other ones out there. PFSense, a lot of them, you can add multiple devices, and then you can still one pane of glass, but they're still separate devices. And I think somehow, because when you go to these all-in-ones, they can't do everything great. They only can do everything maybe good. Something's got to suffer, you know.
Yes, you'll pay something. Yes.
Something's going to suffer. I actually had that problem. I bought the Ubiquity. I actually didn't realize that was not even a business router, the one that I looked at, the USG. And I realized that when it does the packet inspection, I lose speed on my internet. So I literally got to go. I had to go to the next model just to be able to do the packet inspection, because it can't do packet inspection over 70 meg per second. You know.
Yeah. You need a device that can handle a larger bandwidth. Yes.
And that's what happens with a lot of these devices, especially at the consumer level. When you start getting these new gigabit connections, or you're gaming and you got a gigabit connection, it's not going to be able to handle that throughput. So you're going to be slow somewhere.
Yeah, that's why that's why you need to do a little bit seizing here. You need to make sure that whatever internet bandwidth you have from the ISP, making sure that you'll have sufficient ability from the device, the edge devices, to process this kind of requirements.
Right. So that's, that was one of the issues I ran into, and I realized, okay, I should have went with the next lot, the next tier of stuff, because the lower tiers are it's just gonna be, they're gonna strip out something, make it cheaper.
Right.
They can't give you, they'll give you a bunch of things, but then something's gonna be less better than the next one. It's not gonna be as great. You're gonna get a watered down version. So, and then you start thinking, everybody thinks of like, Netgear and all of those things are all crap. We all know that.
Yeah. We, as you know, we don't. We don't recommend home devices like Netgear and those or Linksys to business. Although some people do that, and it's not our recommendation.
And okay. That's been the problem. One of the other issues is that's been the problem with the home users, because now you're going into an environment with consumer grade stuff, working from home, and you have to protect a business now, or your business data. And that's been one of the biggest issues. Some companies will send you equipment.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah, definitely. Okay, so with that, we'll switch to Cisco. How many times did you hear about Cisco? Cisco adaptive security appliance vulnerability is being actively exploited. So let's read the story about it. What happened here? No. I lost this paper. Okay, what do you know about this?
Didn't hear about this one.
No.
No, I'm actually looking it up right now.
Oh.
Searching for it.
Oh. Okay, I lost it. Oh boy, this is bad. I don't see my review.
And just so people understand, in my defense, and the reason I say that is we get inundated with stuff. I'm not really a networking guy. I'm more of a, server, desktop, cloud type guy. So I get inundated with stuff on that. A lot of the networking stuff, you get them, but I don't pay attention to them as much until I'm dealing with something with that. So I think it's the ASA vulnerability. Is that the one you're talking about?
Which one?
ASA vulnerability?
Yes.
Yeah, I can read it for you real quick.
Okay.
Cisco ASA vulnerability actively exploited after exploit released. And this came out June 27th. Hackers are scanning for and actively exploiting a vulnerability in Cisco ASA device after a proof of concept exploit was published on Twitter.
Okay,
So,
so you have it. Okay, yes. This is.
So they disclosed this, so you know, Cisco first disclosed this vulnerability and issued a patch in October of 2020. If you haven't patched it since then, you're an idiot. Then they added another fix on top of that in April. Once again, if you didn't do the first two patches, you're an idiot.
A big one.
Right. You can only blame them so much. They found a problem, they rectified it, then they tried again and added another patch to rectify it. So then who's the idiot now? You or them?
Yes, unfortunately,
Can't put all the blame on them, man.
No, you can't. No.
You know,
okay.
IT people who aren't doing their job once again. We're talking what? October? That's 3 months plus 6. We're talking what? 9 months, 10 months later.
And people don't do.
Yeah. Right.
So here's the thing: you as a business owner that maybe you're using an MSP to manage your IT, you need to come to that MSP and demand something from them, because they know your environment, they know what you have. They need to be like us, coming with those pieces of information and let you know what the fuck is going on.
Right. Yeah, and that's
if they can tell you what's going on, they have a big problem. You have a big problem, and you need to put your pick up the phone and speak to them. Don't send an email. Pick up the phone and say, guys, you need to be on top with all the security vulnerabilities, whatever that is going on in my environment, because you know my environment better than I do. I can follow this. I'm not an expert. You're supposed to be the expert, so-called expert, right? And do something about it. And I mean, this is what they should be doing, like what we do now. And they should come and be open about it and talk about it and do something about it, at least if you can. I don't know. This is my whatever we can do, we do here.
Right. And based on some of the things that we were talking about earlier is when you have a piece of equipment and you're checking vulnerabilities for that piece of equipment, you're making sure you're up to date on patching, and you're also making because there are times you can install a patch and it doesn't set. That's happened many a times. Doesn't really install. You think it did, it didn't install for whatever reason. So you have to make sure, and that's when you do your vulnerability testing or your patch testing. Microsoft has it where it'll scan to make sure all the patches are there. You know, I'm sure Cisco has something like that. A lot of the vendors give you the tools to validate that you are up to date. And if something didn't patch properly, then you can repatch that. So you have to make sure that, you know, when we check, we get a report. Okay, all of this is patched, we're validated, and then those reports are what we get sent to clients. So then they know we're up to date on everything. So some things may be relevant. If you have a Cisco router, this ASA patch may not be relevant to the model you have, this exploit. So the people that are doing the work will come up and say, well, that exploit, it's not relevant to this equipment. It'll be in the reports. Especially if you specifically ask. Other than that, it's not relevant because you won't see the number there of that particular exploit.
So today we had a conversation with an MSP based in New York, and they said, oh, we need to do penetration testing. And even among those MSPs and so-called IT people and customers, typically, they say something, but they don't know what they are saying. They want something, but they don't understand what they want. But anyway, at least they had. We can definitely give them a big point because they want to know what's going on in the customer's environment, but they didn't mention about their environment. Of course, we're not going to mention names here, but they need to do penetration testing to their environment. They need to see what's going on with their environment, not only to evaluate the security of their customers. And this is, I think, going without saying. This is a must.
Yeah, and to jump on that, I know there was a discussion in one of the groups that we belong to, that they were talking about, there's some of the things that people should do about their environments and checking. And I know me and you've had that discussion, and maybe we could put a list together of things that you should be doing, because they're going after the vendors, and then they're going after the software that the vendors use. If you're an MSP, you get your software from whoever else to do the work you need to do. And if just like now, Kaseya got breached, and now a couple of months back you had SolarWinds, which also provides tools. So they're going after them to get to your clients. They'll go through them, go through you to get to them, the other clients.
Or they're going after security companies like FireEye.
Right.
So how about they will go after? I mean, they're going after Microsoft, but they can go after VMware. They can go after SentinelOne. I'm sure all those companies are now a valid target for any kind of a threat actor these days.
And if you think you're not a target, then you're mistaken. Actually, I think we heard somebody say that. Oh, I'm not a target. Remember last week?
Oh, yeah.
In the meeting,
yeah.
Somebody said, I'm not a target. And I didn't say anything at that second, but the reality is that everyone's.
How come first is two things? How come I don't remember it? The second, why didn't you say anything?
You don't remember it in the meeting with that whole group?
Oh, the whole group. Okay, yes, yeah. But I don't remember. I don't remember. So why didn't you say anything? I'm just curious.
I didn't know how to respond without sounding, like I didn't want to insult him. So I didn't come up with a response at that second. So I just let it go for a second. And I figure you may talk to him later. But obviously you didn't even see it. You didn't hear it. But next time I'll let you know. I'll remind you when I hear those things. Because I didn't know what to say without sounding like, are you an idiot? Yeah, I didn't want to say that. And I didn't want to insult the guy, But
you're gonna need to remind me this case, because I really I don't remember the scenario. This is really it's bothering me now.
We'll talk about it offline. But it was one of the meetings we had last week together, and and he said it. Oh, I'm not a target. And we're like, the one with the spam. They have too much. What we call it coming in.
They're getting a lot of email spam and ransom demand emails. No, they do threat from attacks. That's why he.
No, he said specifically, we're not a big target. He said it. If you go back to the recording.
Okay, I'll check it. Yeah, he is a target for sure. He's a target. Specifically in these companies are a target.
Yeah, he's specifically a target, and his company is a target.
Yes.
But when you hear that, you're like, I don't know what world that people live in. Where you don't think you're a target. If you're making, it doesn't even matter what you're making. You could be a small business on a corner, selling candy. If you got a computer, they'll target it. Because remember, if they're not going after you because of you have something they want, your computer becomes a resource in the attacks against others. So if they get 100 computers and they infect them, well, they don't have anything there worthwhile, but then now their computer becomes a bot or some type of ability to attack someone else. So you become useful to them because you're just there.
Right. Yeah.
and you're part of the attack against another company, and you don't even realize it because you leave to go home at 5 o'clock, and in the middle of the night, your computer CPU spikes because it's a help attack somebody else in another country or in this country.
Yeah.
And you don't even know it. And you don't even know it.
Yeah, that you are actually passively, like you a passive smoker, right? You know that I'm passive smoker. You're a passive attacker.
Right. And you're part of a botnet enterprise out there that they use. They pull all their armies and they do some type of DDoS, or they do some vulnerability checking, and they use 100 or 1,000 small computers to do all that. Think about it. If you did a vulnerability check and you had 1,000 computers to do it over a week, how much information would you get?
Oh, a ton.
Right. And that's what they do. This is what they infect a whole bunch of computers and let them use their computing power to go out and do vulnerability checking on sites they're going to check for or hit, or maybe they're going to go after a vendor. So they go after that vendor and do vulnerability checking on them. You know what I mean?
Right.
And you don't realize that your machine is part of that botnet army.
Until it's very late.
And you may never know, because they're not going to do anything to your computer to let you know, unless you happen to notice the CPU go out of whack, or maybe there's logs, whatever it is that they do that are left behind. You may never know because they're not really doing anything to attack you and your computer. So you don't realize that you're being used.
Or you can say to your IT company, MSP, oh, my computer is sluggish lately. Maybe I need a little bit more memory. Maybe I need some maintenance on the computer. Oh, okay. Let me log into a computer remotely using tool and check it out for you.
Right, but how many people do you know? You know how many people tell me my computer's running slow, and no
100%.
one ever thinks, and they never think that you're part of a botnet army. I always tell people, you know what? Sweep your computer, clean it, check everything, just and if you have somebody, make sure they do performance monitoring on it, just to look at what happens in the middle of the night.
They will ask you to do all of that for them using the tool to do all of that.
Well, if you like, I know guys that have gaming servers, and they don't realize that they've been infected, and that when you're not using your computer, somebody else is. And all I tell them is, well, how do I know if I'm being hacked? Put a performance monitor on your machine. If in the middle of the night your computer and your resources start spiking for no reason, you're most likely part of a botnet army.
This is funny.
Yeah, it is. What's that? The folding. Remember the one you put the little utility and it uses your computer to do genome sequencing?
The screensaver.
No, there's folding. It's called Act Folding.
No,
and it's part of some university. You get the utility and you put it on your computer. And when you're not using your computer in the nighttime or whatever, they will use your computer processing and send over threads to you so that they can do this mapping of genomes. And then as it finishes these things, so people do that as a service to these projects to help find, vaccines and whatever else. So that's what happened. That's what's going on with most people who are botnets. They don't even realize it.
Yes.
That you're being used by a bunch of other hackers, and I know it's true. I actually got to look at one of those consoles years ago. The consoles, when they send out, and all the people that have the rootkits and that have been compromised, that they actually get a list, and then they can see everything. They can look at your computer. They can see what you're doing if you have a camera. They can see what you're on your machine, like on your desktop. Like they can actually see that. They have a remote desktop. They literally can do whatever. They see your hard drive, and it's like a little console that looks like Outlook. And every one of these machines.
Maybe those MSP can use this tool to do all the management.
Yeah, it's funny because their tools are much better than some of these other guys. But the reality is that the users don't know they're there. And when they want, they literally can break apart some type of exploit or whatever they're doing and spread it out to all these machines so that their CPU is doing the work and it's almost like the old mainframes. Send the work over there, and then you walk away and come back, and all the work is done.
Okay, Seth. Thank you, super guest. And we're going to conclude this podcast 22 of the Cybersecurity Insider. And don't forget to share, subscribe, and like. And if you have questions, you can definitely send them to podcast at TheCyberSecurityInsider.com. Again, podcast at TheCyberSecurityInsider.com. Any questions? If you want us to talk about any other subjects that matters to you, please do so. And with that, I guess we'll do tomorrow another episode if you have time. I guess you do. Or maybe tomorrow's Wednesday. Maybe Thursday we'll do another episode.
Yeah,
okay. So thank you for watching. This is again Yigal Behar from the Cybersecurity Insider and Seth, super guest. Thank you. And be safe. Don't forget MFA and patch, MFA, patch, MFA. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.